Sarah from SEWNZ Sewing Patterns for Children's Clothes. Chances are you're here today to see how to sew the Easy Neck Sleepsuit. Let's get going. Here's the master pattern for the Easy Neck Sleepsuit. I've cut out violin pattern pieces for the newborn size, front, back and sleeve. Sleepsuit pattern pieces already cut out, ready to sew, and I've also cut 2 pieces of bias binding for the neckline. We're going to do stay stitching, a long straight stitch along both neck edges so we can attach the binding. So I've done the stay stitching on the neckline. I go only about 5 mils in so that when we zigzag over it we can pull the thread out. Attaching the binding to the neckline, we only do it with a slight stretch. You can pin this out. Have a look at the Easy Neck t-shirt to see this process exactly. We've attached the binding to the neckline with a small zigzag stitch, about 2 to 3 millimeters wide, 2 to 3 millimeters long, and we've taken out the stay stitching. Once you've taken out the stay stitching, clip the neckline, and then we're going to fold the binding over and pin it down. So we're going to fold the binding over that seam allowance. I start in the middle and work out towards the sides. So what happens is you're going to use your stretch stitch to top stitch your binding to the sleepsuit and then trim away the excess. So we've finished one of the top stitches and you can see the excess left underneath. Shift it over and that it is cut away and press that seam so it sits nicely when finished. And when it comes to the edges of the neck, go along the way that the pattern piece has been cut and trim it. Right, so now we've got the front of the sleepsuit laid down, the back goes over the top when overlapping and match at the shoulder seam on both sides. And I stay stitch this down to keep it in place when attaching the sleeve. Right, the shoulders are stay stitched together ready for the sleeves. Okay, sleeve head, we're going to do 2 lines of stay stitching the longest length from one marking to the other, so from front to back. I've gathered the sleeve head and I've knotted the 4 threads on one side so I can pull the top threads on the other. So to pin the sleeve head, I pin in the shoulder seam, the front and the back markings and at the edges. One side is threaded of the gathering, so I pull on the other until it fits in. You're just easing the sleeve into it and sewing it with zigzag. Remove the stay stitching, clip the curved seam, neaten it with zigzag and press it on the wrong side. Pin the side seam. We're going to sew from the lower edge up to the armpit and out to the cuff. Pin at the markings and pin in between, zigzag stitch seam. At the hem I've trimmed the threads and also trimmed that corner off so there's less bulk when sewing the hem. Same with the cuff and anywhere else that need trimming, pressing towards the back. So we're going to fold over a 1.5 centimetre sleeve hem and sew it with the top stitch, stretch stitch. So for the hem we're going to cut some elastic that fits over the widest part of the baby plus 2 centimetres for a seam. So that's how much it will gather in that base. So to do this we're going to overlap the elastic, pin it and zigzag it together to create that oval. And once you've got your circle of elastic, you're going to create the casing. I do it with the elastic in there and just pin around. It'll be very gathered and it might be more than the 1.5 that's been added because of the width of the elastic. We're going to pin it on the right side of the fabric and top stitch with our stretch stitch and then we're done. The sleeves are top stitched and the hem is done. Finished. Thanks for watching how to sew the Easy Neck Sleepsuit. Link below to SEWNZ, also to the Etsy shop. Have a look at range of patterns and there's videos for all the patterns that are in stock. E-patterns are available with Etsy shop and hard copy patterns are available at lavanafabrics.co.nz. I love sharing the patterns and how to sew them. If you'd like to share them with your friends, please do so. Happy sewing!